Okay, I was definitely hoping to get to contacting agencies in Hong Kong and Taiwan uh, last night, but I ran into an issue, which, first of all, I always decide that I'm so tired I can't code anymore, and then I lay down to try to sleep, and then I realize, I solve like a problem uh, in my brain, and then I realize I can do something, and then I end up coding all night. So I was coding until like 6 a.m. again. Um, and basically working on the same exact file as the night before. But the idea for this file is that, first of all, I already had a file that scrapes the JSON objects from a website. It goes through every single page on the website and finds any JSON objects, assuming they're in the HTML, assuming they're server-side rendered. Apparently, it won't grab JavaScript objects or things that are rendered by JavaScript. Um, Even if the whole object is in the JavaScript, and the only part of the JavaScript that actually renders is just saying put it into the DOM. Apparently, there is no way to grab that with PHP. Which does seem weird. And I asked ChatGPT in like 10 different ways about this, and it was telling me it's impossible. But there's actually no way that's impossible, because all you have to do is grab it as a string and then search the string for JSON LD, because it's grabbing the script. But again, I'm not sure if that's something that's worth putting time into editing the code to make it find those, because I don't know that a lot of people have that issue, because it's pretty well known that you're supposed to render your JSON LD server side so that it's in. Oh my God, I don't even have my microphone plugged in. I'm just talking there. Anyways, so what that file does, it scrapes every page on the site for the JSON LD objects, and then it makes an index of all of the IDs, because each ID should be unique, and then it builds one JSON LD object, which includes all of the IDs. Or so there's three files. The first one grabs all of the WordPress content. It uses the WordPress API to grab all of the content, and then it builds a JSON LD object from that. Second one grabs just the raw HTML, because sometimes if people are using WordPress plugins or something like that, then the page content just doesn't get rendered through the API. And again, it makes an OpenAI API call and creates a JSON object. And then we scrape the website for any JSON objects that pre-existed on it. So then we merge all of these, which is done. That works. And I was very happy that it works and everything's great. And it's all automated. So I can just put in a URL and then it will do all of that. And then I can immediately go on my reg database and ask about that company, and it will come back with really good detailed information about the company. However, I then realized that when I take that schema and I use it on the Google rich results test, it comes back with nothing. And also, When you go to schema.org and check the validity of that schema, it is not valid. So as much as that doesn't matter for my purposes, it's not good. And if I wanted to repackage these files as like a service to offer people, then I would want it to be schema generated. And it would be nice to say like, oh, I went on your website and I saw that I tested it on the Google Rich Results test, and it got 0 results. And then I created a JSON object for your website, and I ran it again, and now it has 100 results. And so that means your website is 100 times more visible to Google AI mode and to ChatGPT. That's what I would like to be able to say. But right now I can't say that at all because it's not, because the JSON is not visible to them, to that. And so I need to figure out figure out why it's not validating, and then validate it, make it validatable, make it valid. Um, and that should actually not be that hard, but my eye is bugging out completely. From excessive computer use. So it really shouldn't be hard, but every time I've tried, so so I went out and took a walk and gave my eyes some rest, and then guess what? It started to rain, and now I'm damp. And then I was attempting to, as I walked, I was attempting to solve this problem using ChatGPT in voice mode. And again, it auto translates everything I say into Chinese. So then I just start speaking to it in Chinese, but then it like it keeps on adding like, oh, 今天就讲到这里, or like 谢谢大家收看, or like 今天的字母是阿玛雅提供的, stuff like that. And it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this like, am I like a Chinese Truman Show? Specifically, my ChatGPT sessions are like some sort of a Chinese Truman Show, and 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 then how does that get like inserted into the chat history? What the fuck? But it's fun. It's fun. I don't know. Whichever. All right. So let me just find that chat and see if we can pick it up from there. Um, because it seems like I made some progress. And it like what it was saying is that the reason why it's not valid is because it's not attached to like a website. Like within the schema, there needs to be like a web page object that the organization is attached to. Otherwise, it won't. But because it's the organization is an orphan, nothing points to it. And it seems like this everything that it's saying here is nonsense. I don't think it has any idea what it's talking about. It's just making things up. Because first it was like, no, it has to have a web page, a website, and then it was like, and then I just was like, remove them, and then it removed them, and then it was fine. It worked fine. So it was like, clearly that's not the issue. Um, but I'm going back and forth between the schema that was generated for the last Taiwanese company that I generated schema for, and then my schema on my website, and then my phone and my computer, and it's hard to keep track. See, like right here, it said that the rich result test won't show organization because it's not a rich result type. That is totally false. Every time I do a rich result test on a different website, the organization object always shows up. So I'm getting the the same feeling about this that I used to get when I was trying to use the OpenAI API, which is that like if I asked about any other topic, it would give me pretty good answers, pretty accurate answers. But then when I asked about the OpenAI API, which is basically asking it about itself, it just made things up like crazy. It had no idea. It had no access to its own documentation. Um, and this is what I'm getting. I feel like I'm getting it. It does not know anything about this topic, so it just makes things up. Okay, so is this even the right? I don't know if this is even the right conversation. Like this is maybe from yesterday. But all right, so I've got ChatGPT, rich results test, YouTube, and the schema.org website open here. So I do need all of those tabs. I probably don't need these, but all right. So I'm just gonna go on my website, and then I'm gonna just start this over, even though I already did it before. Grab the object, which by the way, I realized that it's very stupid of me to have three objects, one on the index and then one on the blog index and then one on the pages index. I should at the very least just have it include from another file because otherwise if I was sort of thinking like this is like I don't have to update this thing. But now I'm realizing like if it's not valid schema, then I'm gonna have to change it to make it valid schema. And that means I have to change three objects instead of one. And then every time I make any update, I have to change three. So it should really just have one and then pull that one from the others. Just see, can we find today's chats instead of yesterday's chats or not? It's like a this is like a thing that I don't mind looking into and I don't mind learning about, and I would like to understand it more thoroughly. but I'm like rushing through it. Like I should really just save this for like Friday. Um, but I'm rushing through it because I want to get it done and then get to doing sales. But um, the thing is that the whole idea behind the sales is that it starts with making demos, and then I use the demos to uh, as a reason to contact the agency. And part of making the demos is generating the schema. So the more demos I make, the more sales I can do, more sales activity I can do based on my current way of thinking. And so that means I should make as many demos as I can. But that means that I'm generating a lot of schema. And why would I want to generate all that schema when it's not valid, as opposed to figuring out how to make it valid first? Okay, I think this is what I was looking for right here. So it's like, where did that go? I'm just being stupid right now. Not wasting time. Okay, so basically, it gave me this like insane explanation for that I needed to have a website and web page, and then wait, holy shit, what is happening here? Um, okay, so it's claiming that all I have to do. Hmm. Okay, so first of all, I'm getting an unnamed item. Let's just open another ChatGPT. How about that? Is it bad if the entity that's picked up by the Google rich results test is an unnamed item? God. Uh,
Yes, if Google's rich results test shows your entity as an unnamed item, that's generally a sign of a problem. Here's what it means and why it matters. What unnamed item means. When the test shows unnamed item, it means the JSON LD object lacks a name property, or the parser couldn't interpret the name field, e.g., wrong nesting, missing quotes, or invalid JSON. Occasionally, the object is detected only indirectly, e.g., through another node's provider or main entity, but it has no identifying name of its own. Why that's a problem. While Google may still parse and understand the entity internally, the rich results test uses name as the display label to identify what the entity is, may not fully index or associate that node correctly with your brand or organization in knowledge graph data, indicates that the markup is incomplete or malformed, which can hurt schema validation and reduce the chance of rich results. How to fix it. Check each object, especially the root or key entity, and make sure it has. You can see the code in our conversation history. If you're nesting entities, like provider, author, etc., each one should ideally also have its own at ID and name. If you'd like, paste the specific JSON LD or the section that shows as unnamed item, and I can show exactly why it's happening and how to fix it.
Here is the part that was unnamed. I attempted to add a name, and now it is saying that it is unparsable. Uh, Whoops, where do I stop? All right, you know what? I regret that. All right. So from the opening bracket of the FAQ page to the colon after main entity. That's what we need here. So let's find the FAQ page. Opening bracket, main entity. Pretty sure I messed this up. Oh my God, I'm just sniffling and running, nosing and stuff. And you know why? I'm pretty sure here's the reason why is because the neighbors attempt to cover up their weed smoke with various types of spray, and it messes with my lungs and my nose and everything. In addition to not actually working, and I still end up getting high. Okay. I don't know where the syntax error came from here, so I'm just gonna have ChatGPT fix the whole thing. What the? Oh, this is the wrong ChatGPT. Okay. Oh my God, what is happening here? It is still unparsable structured data, incorrect value type. I think I just grabbed it before it was done printing. Let's try this again. Marijuana. Okay. So it has detected the FAQ. It still says that it's an unnamed item though. Why the hell? If I can't even get it to name the items here. It's like a bad dream, and like and like whenever I have a bad dream, I'm like looking for things, and then I just get further. Then there's like a side mission, and then there's like another side, and you just get deeper and deeper into side missions, and never actually. That's what this feels like. But again, I am very. Um, I just need to validate this schema. I just need to know why it's not validating. That's the thing, because I swear that the demos I can make in my sleep. And once I'm doing demos, the sales flows from that. And then the once I'm doing sales, I mean, as you're doing things, you just figure out how you're doing them badly and how you can get better at it. So this is the one last final barrier between me and that. But I've said that a million times. And there's also a couple other things that could end up being roadblocks, like the, messing around with the manifest. But even that is like that's just stuff I've dealt with before a lot. Okay, now it's saying it's fine. It doesn't matter that it's unnamed. All right. We'll just see what happens if we can get this to where is the FAQ section? There we go. So from the opening bracket to the main entity colon, we have a new thing, and see if it now recognizes the name. Unnamed item. Motherfucker. How many names do I gotta give it? But anyways, ChatGPT is flip-flopping on whether or not that matters. It said it does matter, and then it stopped, and then it started saying it doesn't matter. So it literally lists the name right here, but then still calls it an unnamed item. I feel like this is like a Google rich results test bug, and I'm messing around with my schema to try to fix a bug that is ingrained in the Google. Okay, anyway, so back to this thing, that all I have to do is add this line to my FAQ. And now it will return correctly. It will, and then it will recognize my organization object because it will no longer be an orphan. So let's find out. I wonder if it matters where I put it. Ooh, I'm tired. Nope, that didn't accomplish anything. Now I'm curious if I put this schema here, whether or not that will accomplish anything. All right, whatever. We'll keep going with Fanti Zhongwan because I couldn't find English. What? So this one found service and FAQ page, but still it's not finding the organization, which clearly is right here. Did I keep that publisher in there? I kept the publisher in there. Okay. Both the Google Rich Results Test and the schema.org validator are not recognizing the organization entity. I just need to get this one thing done. And then I'm golden. Okay. It's claiming that the only problem was that there was an extra slash in the line that it provided, which says the publisher. Nope. That is definitely not the only problem. All right, you know what? I'll just go ahead and I'll use the whole entire schema. Just to be 100% sure that it wasn't that I didn't do anything to mess it up. Still not detected. This schema validator is weird. It doesn't work the way you'd expect. All right, so in both the rich results detector and the schema validator, the organization object is not showing up. And it is telling me that that the reason why the organization object is not showing up is because it requires a logo. I don't believe that. I think it's just making shit up. It has no idea what it's talking about. Provide this section of the schema with a logo added. Okay, there's no way that that's the problem. Clearly, ChatGPT doesn't understand how Google is reading these JSON LD schemas. It doesn't know. Holy shit, that actually fixed it. But now the only thing that, oh, that's because I deleted everything else. That makes sense. Okay, but when I put everything else back in with the logo, the organization still is not showing up. I should really just get it recognized by the schema validator first and not even worry about the Google because the schema validator I mean, it doesn't like, because Google picks and chooses which objects it's it wants to identify, but they should show up in the schema validator first. So if they're not being shown in the schema validator, there's no way they're going to show up in Google. So I really don't need to worry about Google until it's working in the schema validator first. Huh. Interesting. Wait, oh, it's still working. Okay. So it's saying just put it in its own script block. Just give the organization its own script block and put everything else in another script block. So we'll give it a try. Didn't work. Let's see what happens if we delete everything except for the organization. Does it recognize the organization? If we delete everything but the organization, it does recognize the organization. What about in the Google? I feel like I've already done this. Google detected no items at all. When I delete the other script and leave just the organization script, the schema.org validator does identify the organization. Um, yeah, can I find the English? Because I'm not sure if I should. Oh, I shouldn't be saying all this to ChatGPT. There we go. 英文，你識唔識講英文啊？Yeah, entity. I wasn't sure if I could use that word entity. What even is an entity in Chinese? Shirty. All right, and let's just to be double, triple sure. Let's rerun the Google. Okay, but I'm pretty sure that like every single company that I checked, when I've just grabbed the JSON from their website, it always has the organization entity is always found by the Google search results. It's usually the only one it finds. So it is so weird that it suddenly would have that it can't find my organization entity. All right, we got the Yoast schema graph here. This is the Google. Okay, so I just took like a organization entity from a random website. Well, it's not random. It's like the first Chinese one that I did, first Chinese language website that I tried this on. Oh, it's also not finding the organization here. Okay. I'm pretty sure it usually finds the organization though. Let's try Thrive Agency. Of course, they have seven different JSON LD objects on their site, on their homepage. There we go. See, that organization was identified. And obviously it's going to work in the schema validator as well. But just to be 100,000,000% sure, organization. Let's just run a test on the whole URL. And see what all 7 of those objects are. Still shows the organization. There's 2 organizations actually. Huh. What? It only finds 2. Okay. It only finds 2? What is happening here? I'm so confused. Let's find out what on the URL of Thrive with Google. "13 valid items detected." What is I am so confused right now. So the schema markup is so it's finding breadcrumbs, local businesses, organization, review snippets. It found 4 different organization objects. All right. Uh, where were we? I was okay. Oh, my eyes are absolutely stinging. All right, where did I get that? Let's go back and try to. Do I still have that? Oh, okay. So let's just start here. Here's our code. Sure, let's use the smart tone. I wonder if the smartphone tool and the desktop ever have different results. That's really annoying that there's even 2 options there. Gotta get those extra milligrams of caffeine in me. Okay. So we have an example of an organization schema that is accepted by Google Rich Results and is accepted by the schema validator. So now the question is, what is the difference in the structure of their schema and the structure of my schema? All right, so we got this as there, and we should have this is my schema for just for the organization piece. What is the difference between these 2 schemas? One, the first one, the one for Thrive Agency, is accepted and recognized by Google Rich Result Tester and the schema validator, whereas mine is not recognized by the AI upgrade one is not recognized by either. Oh. This is man, I don't this conversation, every single thing that ChatGPT has said on this topic has been nonsense. It does not understand how Google reads JSON schema. It just makes shit up because it's saying that both snippets are valid and the differences you're seeing is about how the page is assembled. There is no page. In both cases, we have removed this from the context of the page. All right. This sucks, but I have to open a new Google Rich Result Test. I need 2 instances of it and a new validator.schema.org. Oh, I Mabi. Okay, there we go. Validator is identifying the organization now. And I don't think I ran this test yet. Did I run the test? What happened? That was weird. It didn't give me the option to run the tests for a minute there. I think I added extra white space in there. No items detected still. Holy moly. That was exactly the same, right? It is still not able. No items detected. But here it detected an organization. Um, what I think, based on a X thread I saw earlier today is like there's specific required properties. And if you don't require these, then the Google Rich Results test will not pass. All right. I should have primed this conversation by telling it to give me short answers because it's giving me excessively long answers. Uh, and it's saying things like that the problem is on my live page. But again, this is. All right, it's claiming that like it's actually pinging the image or something and not finding the image. But my guess is that the real reason is because there are properties in this one that are not in this one. So let's tell ChatGPT to give it the properties. All right, and let's start with the validator and make sure we're still valid. We're good. Okay, now let's go to the Google rich result tests. You know, the fact that it says the validator is instantaneous and then the Google rich results test does take a minute, maybe it is pinging, but nope, it doesn't. It worked, finally worked. So the issue again was not that it was pinging the logo to see that it's a real link or anything like that. It was just because it has to have these properties. If you don't have these properties, then it's not going to be, which we could have found out right away. We could have literally looked at the documentation. Holy shit, that's kind of annoying. I'm annoyed as hell about this because the documentation. Whoops. This is the documentation, I think. Okay. Use structured data to enable rich results. Specify all required properties listed in documentation for your specific rich results type. Items that are missing required properties are not eligible for rich results. Okay. So what are the required? I'm like legit mad at ChatGPT right now. Kind of pointless to. Okay, here we go. So this is where we should have started probably. Damn, this is annoying because I specifically clicked on the link that said what are the required properties, and now it's still not giving me a list of required properties. It's giving me a whole bunch of background information, how structured data works, recommended properties. Follow the guidelines. Maybe I shouldn't be angry at ChatGPT if it's this hard to figure out what are the required properties. Holy moly, that's annoying. It says there are no required properties. Google recognizes the following properties of an organization. To help Google better understand your page, include as many recommended properties that apply to your web page as possible. So I think that means if you add any properties that are not included in this, it won't be valid. Ho, ho, ho. 如果我尿的是怎么讲话？怎么讲？如果尿之后有比较多的泡沫，是不是证明受患糖尿病？All right, so let's see here. Let's all right. So the Google rich results test is working. Now what I want to do is just I don't understand why it's thinking that there's no ID. It's thinking that ID is okay. I don't see that Google has mentioned ID anywhere. Anyways, let's just see what happens when we use this. Oh, yeah. We're still good. All right, let's try it with all of the optional properties. Uh, Invalid. Okay, whatever. So what exactly was the problem that was keeping the rich result test from recognizing the organization entity before? I'm guessing there we have just always had there must have always been a property in there that's not a recognized property by Google. I'm guessing because there's no ID mismatch broke the graph. I don't believe you. Okay, you're just making shit up. You're so full of shit. right, I'm definitely chat because this chat is unsalvageable. Now, let's see here. But is there an ID in this one that's actually working? Yeah, there is an ID. Okay, that's cool. That's fine, even though Google doesn't list that as a thing. Okay, so one more time, let's go to my website and grab the actual organization uh, entity. Hmm. I'm confused. I don't even know what to do here. Okay. Um, just tell ChatGPT to make it pass the rich results test. Did I freaking no? Okay, it's just don't add any items, just fix syntax, please. All right, now I hate to do this, but I have to open up yet another instance of Google rich results test. Okay, which is what I was expecting, of course, because it's been failing all along. So the one that okay, that failed the test, but this one passed. Why? Which ultimately is the question. For starters, this one includes the graph. I think that's the main issue. Graph. Right. So ChatGPT thinks that it's because of the logo and the contact point. So let's just delete the logo and see if it actually destroys the thing. Nope. The logo doesn't cause any problem at all. Let's see if we delete the contact point. I feel like at this point, the answer to this question is so insanely simple, but it's just, I am incapable of basic logical thinking. There we go. No items detected. Um, all right, let's get back to the one that works. What is your problem here, buddy? Whoa, what happened? Okay, so I wonder if I delete the contact point, but I don't delete the logo, whether or not that'll be a problem. No items detected. So it seems like even though Google very much claims that there's no uh, that there is no required items, it seems like if you do not have a contact point, then it's not going to recognize it as an entity. Okay, that conversation I was in completely disappeared. There it is, I think. No items detected. All right. Let's delete the name and see whether or not that does anything. Oh, it did a thing. So deleting the logo is okay, but deleting the name or the contact point seems to cause a problem. Deleting the URL is okay. Okay, let's delete the URL and the logo. See what happens. Heh. I don't know if I might have made a syntax error there. Okay, no syntax errors. Unfortunately, I don't remember what did I do there? All right, let's see here. Give this a contact point and fix syntax. Oh, it worked. So it doesn't matter that there is no graph or that the word graph is in there. It does not matter that there is no logo. The only thing that matters is that there has to be a contact point. Without a contact point, it will not recognize as an organization entity, which is very annoying because if I look at this documentation, it doesn't say anything about that. It does not say anything about a contact point being necessary. Let's ask Gemini. Huh? For JSON schema, whoa. Do you know what language I'm speaking, buddy? Hello. Oh, no, it's auto translating me into Chinese. 我要说英文，不要说中文呐。Well, it recognizes my Chinese super good, so we'll just speak in Chinese, fine. 好的，用中文吧。如果说要 JSON LD 的物件通过 Google Rich Result Test，那么是不是 organization 呃需要 contact point？ Okay, that was totally not helpful at all. Okay, so my only other question then, kind of ish, is if we uh, what happened here? Okay, so let's add a property which is not in the list. All right, so right now it is valid. Now we're going to add one property which is not in Google's recognized list and see if Adding an extra property makes it invalid. Hopefully it doesn't, because then we can just put whatever we want in our schema without worrying about upsetting nice. So that's the thing. Google, your documentation sucks. You need to have a contact point in order for the organization to be recognized. But if you have extra properties in there that is not listed by Google as um, recognized properties, that is okay. That's not going to break it. Now let's test the same thing. Perfect. Testing the same thing on schema validator. We still get the organization. It just points out that this made up property is weird, but it doesn't have a problem or break it. So let us edit my home page. Just going to edit my home page. I'm going to change that schema and give it a contact point. And then yeah, I don't want to. Add a contact point to this. Don't make any other changes. Hey yo, maybe we use my actual phone number, huh? Instead of oh man, we have just backticks and what happened, ChatGPT? Backticks for days. We are never gonna run out of backticks. All right, now let's just make sure I didn't break my site. That would be so messed up to break your site by metadata. Alrighty, now let's go to the Google Rich Result Test and let's check HTTPS AI upgrade.site. And hopefully it will recognize the organization object now that we've added a contact point to it. Two items detected, FAQ and organization. Hell, yep. All right, now let's go to schema validator. Huh. Schema validator still isn't recognizing the organization. Son of beach. Why? Do I care? Should I care? I mean, the if Google finds it, then that's all that matters, right? Do I really need the schema to even be valid as long as Google is using it fine? Um, but anyways, okay, so we've got all right, one. This is the schema that actually works, that is recognized, and this is the one that's not. Let's see what the one has that the other one doesn't have. Huh, well, the context is inside. What if we take the context and put it before the type? Nope. Okay, let's keep it in English, buddy.英文 英文喺邊度啊? United Kingdom English, that'll be fine. Or it will break the site. One, two. Okay, so putting the context. Wait, what? I want to do something here. What if I just replace the whole entire organization graph of mine with that of Thrive's? Now will it recognize the organization? Yeah. Oh, wait. I have a schema issue. All right. I don't actually. Why am I loading my whole entire HTML in here when I can just load the JSON? This is going slow. There we go. Just when you complain, that's when everything works. Now I need to copy it to this because weirdly it's. There we go. Okay, is that the issue is not the rest of the JSON thing within the organization schema. Can I can I control Z my way back to the all right, whatever. Let's just pretty sure we can figure this out. Once again, we're just gonna grab. Did this not already work one time? I thought it already worked one time. What am I even doing here? Nope. For this organization, my organization, even with the contact point, even though it is being recognized by wait, what is happening? I think it's possible that I grabbed the one I grabbed was not the latest version of it. Jesus, this battery is ruined. Okay, that one definitely contains the contact point, but it's still not recognizing it as valid JSON. So there must be some other thing uh, in the Thrive in the Thrive organization object that is not in my organization object. So URL, we got URL. Name, we got a name. We do have them. Wait, in both cases, type. Huh. Well, they don't have the ID in theirs. So we could try deleting the ID and seeing if that makes a difference. Oh, that did make a difference. Interesting. That solved that problem. That is frustrating actually because my code depends on the IDs in order to build to merge a single object. So if the presence of the ID is what's causing it to not validate, that's going to be an issue. Why does deleting the ID property in my organization object allow the schema validator to recognize the organization entity? Let's just go to schema.org. The documentation, we're going to end up doing that anyways. The full type hierarchy in a single style. Yeah, so there was no ID listed as a property of organization. There's VAT ID, tax ID, but no ID. Oops, I didn't send this message. Okay, but just um so we deleted the ID and it worked, but there is a contact point. I feel like I can delete the contact points and it will still work. And it's true. That's really annoying. That's so annoying. So Google requires that there is a contact point, but if you have extra properties, it doesn't matter. And so having an ID property doesn't make any difference. But schema.org requires that you do not have extra properties. of any sort, right? No, because I'm pretty sure before we had an extra property and it still worked. It just told me that it just warned me about the extra property. Uh, but anyway, so if you have an ID in there, that'll break it. That is so crazy and annoying that they have these different rules that there's no way to just I mean, there is a way to be valid for both of them, which is don't have an ID and do have a contact point. But let's see what ChatGPT said about this.
If you have one organization, give each a different @ID. 4. Avoid stray duplicate @context inside graph items and close all braces brackets correctly. Do that, and you can keep the ID without losing recognition.
Okay, so ChatGPT thinks that the reason why the ID was a problem was because there's another ID in the script using the same name. Um, and s- that's the problem. So if that's the case, then we should be able to give it a unique ID. And even though it's got an ID in there, I shouldn't even waste my time with this. ChatGPT is wrong. It has no idea what it's talking about. It's just making things up. It's just going to send me down this endless path based on nothing. But I'm going to ask it to give the organization a new ID. And we'll see. Where are we at here? Man, I have so many tabs open. It's very hard to keep track. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Putting the organization is gone. Take away the ID. Organization is back. It does not seem like that is the problem because uh, adding the ID caused it to once again not recognize the organization object. And then deleting the ID once again caused it to recognize the organization object. Can you go on schema.org, the documentation from schema.org, and try to figure out why that is the case? Does I don't see it listing ID as a property on for the organization object. Um, is it listed for as a property of the other types?
Short answer, add-ID isn't a schema.org property at all. It's a JSON LD keyword used to give a node a unique identifier, URI, so other nodes can reference it. That's why you won't see add-ID listed on the schema.org organization page or on any other type page. It's defined in the JSON LD spec, not schema.org. W3C, why adding add-ID made your organization disappear. In JSON LD, nodes with the same add-ID are merged, and references like provider, add-ID, are resolved to whatever node has that exact add-ID. If you, the validator may show an unexpected merged node or fail to surface a clean organization node in its UI. Removing add-ID makes the node anonymous, so it no longer collides or gets mismerged. This matches JSON LD behavior, not a schema.org rule. W3C, so is ID a property of other types? Reused and add ID elsewhere, even in another script, referenced a slightly different URI versus HTTPS trailing slash different fragment, or had a dangling reference, services pointing at s.side.site organization, but your organization used a different add ID, null ID is a JSON LD keyword, universal across types. If you want a schema.org level identifier property, use identifier on thing in addition to or instead of ID. Schema.org, practical fixes to keep ID and stay visible. One, pick one canonical organization at ID, e.g. grade.site organization. Two, make every reference match exactly, same scheme, host, path fragment. Three, ensure there's only one organization node with that ID on the page. Four, avoid duplicate at context inside items and close all braces brackets cleanly. Google's docs don't require ad ID for organization rich results. They emphasize URL, logo, contact info, etc. But ad ID is recommended to link your nodes reliably, provided it's consistent. Developers.google.com.
All right, so ChatGPT is still convinced that there's a clash, that we're using multiple IDs. Um, so if that's the case, then where? But I don't know why I should even care about this. I mean, yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know if that's this my problem here has been fixed or not. But what I am gonna do is basically start over um with the JSON object that was created for um that it was auto created by the code that I wrote 2 nights ago and was working on all night last night. Because that way we can just see how far off are we from here it is. I think I got it. Is this right? It should be. All right, so let's just go ahead and open up a Google Rich Result. Choose to inspect the code. Paste this right here and test that code, buddy. No items detected. All right, we're gonna have to continue this in part 2.